I don't think enough is said about how difficult it is to make a great mascot game. While Nintendo found success with Mario and Sega eventually stumbled on Sonic, the last 30 years are littered with also-ran attempts that you've either completely forgotten about or remember for all the wrong reasons. I think that's what makes the new game Fox and Forest so remarkable. This is a throwback platformer released by a first-time developer from Germany that somehow manages to make it look easy. Write this name down. Bonus Level Entertainment is a company worth paying attention to. Let me introduce you to Rick the Fox, a versatile character with a powerful crossbow and a penchant for adventure. He's been caught up in a mission to fight his way through a series of seasonal stages in hopes of retrieving a bunch of missing bark pieces to prevent an evil force from creating a destructive 5th season. It's the kinda goofy setup that's straight out of the 16-bit platformers I grew up playing as a kid. What sets Rick apart from the likes of Tails and Fox McCloud is that he's able to switch seasons at the snap of his furry little fingers. He's like a cross between Thanos and Storm, only less destructive. The idea is that he'll switch seasons in order to affect the backgrounds. For example, you'll want to switch to winter in order to freeze the lakes, or jump straight to autumn in order to ride the leaves falling from the trees. But changing the seasons is not indefinite, and you always have to be mindful of how much time you want to spend confusing the enemies with your time jumps. Now, on the official website, the developer mentions being influenced by games like Castlevania, Super Ghouls and Ghosts, Wonder Boy, Zelda, and even ActRaiser 2. I'm just gonna ignore my disbelief that anybody would actually be inspired by ActRaiser 2, and say that I see a lot of those old games in Fox and Forests. Especially when it comes to the massive stages and the way the developers hope that you'll want to replay them over and over in order to collect all the goodies. Actually, let me correct myself by saying that the developer doesn't hope that you'll replay these stages, they force you to. This is one of those games that locks away a good chunk of the content until you've collected a certain amount of hidden items. It doesn't matter if you've beaten the boss or collected the bark. You're not gonna see the new world until you go back into the stages and then find a bunch of out-of-the-way seeds. I'm not a fan of this trend in throwback games, and it's especially obnoxious here. That said, I really did enjoy replaying these stages. Every time you beat a boss, the game will give you a new weapon to use, which in turn can be used to open up new paths in the old levels. There are all sorts of things tucked away in this game, and much of it will be used to unlock new worlds and upgrade our hero. You'll get to the point where the little fox can pull off a bunch of melee moves, all of which are fun to try out in the earlier stages. I hate how restrictive it feels, but I like how much you're able to unearth in each stage. It helps that the different levels are constantly changing. We start out walking left to right like pretty much every 16-bit platformer, but we'll eventually get to a vertical stage where we're trying to avoid spikes. And don't forget about the 2D shoot-'em-up stage that has us flying over a level that's either wet and stormy, or literally on fire. There's just enough variety to keep things fresh and prevent the mandatory replays from becoming a slog. Looking back on it now, there were certainly signs that the game was going to be purposely cruel. And it's not just the collecting of hidden items, but also the way you have to pay for checkpoints and extend seasonal energy when firing the special arrows. None of these things are anywhere close to being a deal breaker. But I also don't think they enhance the experience. It wouldn't surprise me if a huge chunk of the player base ends up quitting when forced to backtrack for hidden items, and it bums me out knowing that those people are going to miss some of the best levels and boss fights. Visually, I have a hard time finding fault in Fox and Forests. This is a game that understands how important it is to not only nail the 16-bit look, but also maintain the consistency across all of the varied worlds. This is a vibrant and often gorgeous throwback game that both looks and feels authentic, sometimes even improving on the games that inspired it. Retro or not, I wish that all games had this much personality. Fox and Forest is an old-school platformer that plays as good as it looks. The levels are varied, the bosses are memorable, and there's a staggering amount of secret goodies hidden away in each of the stages. And I have a hunch that the most controversial element is going to be the game's progression, which forces you to go back and replay past stages in order to find enough seeds to advance. Minor setbacks aside, Fox and Forests is a winning debut from Bonus Level Entertainment. Hey, thanks for watching our review. So here's the question of the day. Who's your favorite mascot character? Is it Mario, Sonic, Bubsy, or maybe Blinks the Time Sweeper? Actually, it's probably not Blinks. With so many to choose from, I can't wait to see what you come up with. In other news, I'm currently hard at work on a bunch of reviews, including Coffee Crisis, Unforeseen Incidents, Juicy Realm, Heat Guardians, and more. We're also going to be dipping back into the pages of Electronic Gaming Monthly in the coming days, so I strongly recommend you click that subscribe button and support what we're doing here. Until then.